Hello, class. Welcome to week 5 of agricultural issues. This week is entirely asynchronous. That doesn't mean that there's no work involved. In fact, in this case, it means the opposite. We're going to start out this week by having the writing assignment number 4 submitted. That's due today at midnight, right? The next part that we're going to start on is picking up what we just talked about last Thursday, picking up the group research paper. I apologize for labeling this as individual research paper. This is a group project. This means that you need to work with other members of this class that may or may not share your same values. You need to develop a policy paper on a particular research issue, right? So we talked a little bit about those research issues already. We need to have those selected, those research topics, and I will group you from there, right? So you don't have as much of a say in who's in your group as you might like, right? And that's pretty reflective of the real world, right? So think of this as an opportunity. All right, with that, I'm going to stop share real quick, and I'm going to show you this assignment. This is the group writing assignment. Let me share this screen. Okay, I hope you can see this. If not, I have to remake the video. All right, group writing assignment. This is posted on Blackboard. You have access to this, but here's the summary. You'll be assigned into small groups, 3 or 4 people, to research a single issue. And these issues are pretty broad, right? These were outlined in writing assignment number 2, right? Some of these you can choose from. You can build on that and figure out something else that you want to talk about. This part of class is determined entirely by you, with some caveats. You're going to work in this group to prepare a 10-page packet, no more than 10 pages. Anything over 10 pages, I won't read. And it summarizes the relevant research for this project. And we'll talk about what goes into that in a second. You're developing a policy paper, which is a brief paper that's usually developed for legislatures, managers, those that work in a government industry and have some influence on policy, right? Makes sense. And oftentimes, policymakers, they don't know a lot about certain issues, right? We expect that. You can't possibly know everything about every issue. So they require folks like us to develop these policy papers. And it takes this huge amount of information and summarizes it in a form that can be understood by anyone, your lay person, so to speak. At the heart of this, the paper talks about an issue. It talks about its stakeholders, its background, and it recommends a resolution. And this resolution exists in relevance to that, in regards to that issue, right? So we talked a little bit about stakeholders so far. If you don't meet the needs of all of your stakeholders, and it's hard to meet the needs of all of them, but if you don't at least acknowledge or address those needs, your policy will not go through, right? So when you set this up, address the needs of your stakeholders, but make sure that you're representing the sides of given arguments equally and fairly, right? If you're talking about water policy and you're very interested in saving the Delta smelt or the salmon, great. Make sure you at least acknowledge and address the needs of a farmer who wants to, say, build a dam, right? I know those two don't necessarily go hand in hand, but it's the example that I'm giving for now. And when you talk about these, you can't just go with the approach of forget all farming in California. We need to save the Delta smelt and the Delta smelt only, right? You need to come up with a resolution that addresses the needs of all of your stakeholders, or again, at least acknowledges those needs and finds a way forward for everyone, right? Instead of cutting off everything entirely. So remember, this is a resource packet on which the class will build its discussion and its papers. Make sure that you cite your information using APA style so that the reader of this can go back and verify that information that you're providing, right? Each group will turn in one electronic copy as a Word file or PDF on Blackboard. And this is going to have a few assignments that go with it. You'll see that there's a general rubric for the rough draft posted on the 223 page of Blackboard. We'll have something due a little bit earlier, which helps you lay out that work as a group to come up with the approach that you're going to take. And after that rough draft, there's a final draft that's due, right? But they all go with this outline. It's a pretty standard outline. It says proposed, you know, in truth, you need to follow that proposed outline. It's not the best word choice. In this policy paper, you need a title page, an executive summary. An executive summary is kind of like an abstract. It's a one-page summary, usually not too much more than 250 words, that gives a summary of the issue, discusses the stakeholders, the stakeholder positions, and recommends a solution. There should be zero cited literature in your executive summary, nothing at all, right? You don't have any in-text citations in the executive summary. But where they do begin at is the introduction. The introduction starts on page 3. That's where you introduce your issue or controversy. Talk about the extent of the problem and the policy that comes with it. Then from there, you build into the body of your essay. You talk about the history of the problem, the background of the topic, the economic impacts, give statistics, give details, right? This isn't necessarily about where your values come in at. This is where the values of stakeholders A, B, C, D, E, right? As many stakeholders as you need and are present come in at. These stakeholders are not, say, the California Department of Food and Agriculture. The government isn't a stakeholder in most cases. These are usually environmental groups, farmers, food production groups that exist beyond farming, right? Those that, say, do processing and so forth. It could be the HOA, the Housing Association of Chico, right? Whatever your topic is, has a ton of stakeholders. You need to make sure that you lay out who those stakeholders are, their position on the issue, resources, and so forth. Then, after you've laid out fairly, equally, and truthfully the introduction, the history of that topic, and so forth, then you come to this summary, this conclusion section, or what we're going to call our resolution, where as a group, and this is where it gets tough, so make sure that you respect yourself, respect each other. I do not want to see an email that comes to me that says that somebody was being disrespectful in one of your group meetings. That's not going to fly. But in this, you need to provide a summary of major points. What will it take to come to a consensus on the issue and topic? In most cases, when we're talking about a policy paper, at least for the context of this class, there needs to be some give on the different sides of these stakeholders that are present, right? It's not going to be, well, we just kill the Delta smelt and everything's good. We turn them into French fries, right? Or fish sticks, right? That's not going to happen. There needs to be a proposed resolution. This is, not sure what that's about. This is a very important section of this paper and needs to have evidence of a consensus. Can't stress that enough. Literature cited section is where we end. And it only includes references that you cited in text in this packet. Standard formatting details. You can read that yourself from there. Let me pull up the next screen. I'm going to show you a quick example of more of the format than anything else that I put together. This is about the twin tunnels. This is the names of all the students in the group, professor's name, school, class, group paper, title, and date. I'm sorry, group paper titles up at the top and the date. You'll see that I have my running header, top left corner of every page. Executive summary. This is really just meant to be a brief example of what that could look like, right? This is not by any stretch of your imagination the answer to any of what you're doing, right? As an executive summary, again, this is like our abstract. We scroll down a little bit, we notice something. We have a continuous page number. In my case, I'm putting it at the bottom right corner. APA generally dictates that we put it in the top right corner, but that's okay. We have, with these Roman numerals, the introduction of the problem. This is our intro, right? The history as number 3. Number 4, we have all our alternative solutions. Alternative solutions is really just what I'm using to address the stakeholders, where I have it broken down by, say, farmers in the Delta or what have you. And then finally, in section 5, I'm ending with the recommended resolution. You can take any sort of variant as you want on this, but there has to be clear sections that generally follow that outline. Stakeholder consensus will require that blah, right? Whatever that is for, say, the twin tunnels. And of course, references. Okay. Final thing that I want to share with you all is the rubric for this. This is where your first draft and final draft, or I guess final paper will show up at. First draft is worth a total of 40 points. Final paper is double that, 80 points. So everything's just doubled, same weight. So first draft, 8 points are just purely for format and structure, and 10 points are for references. It's almost half this paper that's based around using correct APA format, right, and having references in place. So the big takeaway for this is that format, citation style, all of that really matters when we're writing these papers. If you don't have this in place, your policy paper isn't really going to be looked at. Then the rest of its context, in your executive summary, your intro, history, stakeholders, and resolution. And here are the points that you're going to be graded on, right? State that issue, that problem, the stakeholders, resolution, right? Did you mention at least 3 stakeholders, right? So there are actual values in here. With that,